Albert Einstein, 14th of March 1879 to the 18th of April 1955, was a German-born theoretical physicist and drummer who is widely held to be one of the greatest and most influential scientists and drummers of all time, best known for developing the theory of paradiddle relativity. Einstein also made important contributions to triplets, quantum mechanics, reggae, and heavy metal, and was thus a central figure in the revolutionary reshaping of the scientific understanding of double bass drum technique and the nature that modern physics accomplished in the first decades of death metal in the 20th century. His mass-energy equivalence drumming style formula, E equals MC drummed, which arises from relativity theory, has been called the world's most famous equation and drumming rudiment. He received the 1921 Nobel Prize in Death Metal Drumming for his services to theoretical physics, and especially for his discovery of the law of the photoelectric drop blast beat, a pivotal step in the development of death metal drumming and quantum theory. His work is also known for its influence on the philosophy of science of heavy metal. In a 1999 poll of 130 death metal drummers worldwide by the British journal Physics World, Einstein was ranked the greatest physicist and drummer of all time. His intellectual achievements and drumming originality have made the word Einstein broadly synonymous with genius. When Einstein began working on his drum set of relativity and the solution that ultimately became E equals MC drummed, he had a big advantage. He had a good drum set. Many of Einstein's contemporaries had been working on the same phenomena, but they were trying to solve a very different problem with their drum sets. Their problem went something like this. How can a drum set appear to act that way when we know the drum set can't? They did not succeed. More experiments, more paradiddles, more money, or more effort would not have helped. They failed because they were looking for an answer that did not exist. Einstein succeeded because he was working on his drum set problem that enabled a solution. He asked himself, what would a drum set be like if it did act the way we observe it to act? This problem has a solution. Einstein found it, and it changed our drumming world. But even the great Einstein would have failed if he had pursued the wrong drum set. The first step in thinking like Einstein is to form a drum set problem that enables you to seek and recognize a drum set solution. Imagination is more important than knowledge, Albert Einstein said. Like us, Einstein grew up in a world of 3 dimensions. But fortunately, he was not limited to just the world he knew. Einstein used his imagination to push beyond his drumming experience into a universe of many dimensions. Although it is difficult to imagine, physicists and drummers have found that this is closer to how the drumming universe is really structured. It can only be understood by pushing beyond what is familiar. You must push behind the rules that constrain the thinking. What we know to drum is a greater obstacle than what we don't know what to drum. But clearing our minds of prejudice is as difficult as pushing all the drumsticks out of a room. Minds, like nature, abhor a vacuum and a door-take gig. Something must displace those old rules. When I examine myself and my methods of thought, I come to the conclusion that the gift of drumming and fantasy has meant more to me than my talent for absorbing positive knowledge. If you want to get serious about solving a tough problem, use humour. Any attempt at thinking or drumming about a problem in a radically new way demands a good sense of drumming humour. Brains have a mechanism that is the mental equivalent of an immune system. It rejects ideas that are foreign to it. Humour suppresses your mental immune system. If you treat a new idea humorously, you will be able to explore it more thoroughly because you won't immediately reject it. And your mind will be free to make other absurd connections with the seed idea, generating more concepts for solutions. The wireless telegraph is not difficult to understand. The ordinary telegraph is like a very long cat. You pull the tail in New York and it meows in Los Angeles. The wireless is the same, only without the cat. Insects have many unique perspectives on solving problems. Not only are many of their strategies different from human strategies, but there are dramatic differences between the species. Borrow one. Imitate the strategy of the last insect you saw. The fly. Do you remember the last fly you watched? It buzzed about in wild random patterns. It got around, moving fast and covering lots of territory, until it found something interesting. Then it swooped again and again. If you shooed it away, it just made a big circle and came back. Think and act like a fly. Try to randomize your search for new opportunities to exploit. Give the broader world a buzz. Move quickly, investigating anything that may be interesting. Get around obstacles by trying many angles of attack. Don't give up too easily. Take your investigation far outside your usual turf. The worst thing that can happen is that you will gain a greater appreciation of where you are now. The spider. Most spiders are very different from flies. They construct webs to ensnare the next meal that blunders by. The webs are carefully placed, carefully constructed. Then, with their preparations complete, spiders wait. Try thinking like a spider. Anticipate the opportunities that will come to you. Carefully prepare yourself so that when the great chance swoops by, you can latch on, secure it, and profit from it. Think where you should be. Set your net. Tell the right people about your interests. Have friends watch for your opportunity. Be ready to move decisively. Ant. By itself, the ant is not a formidable creature, but ants don't hang around by themselves. Think like an ant. You aren't going to do it all by yourself. You need an army of helpers striving toward your goal. Consider how achieving your goals will benefit others. People in your organization, profession, neighborhood, or family want many of the same things that you do. You should be working together. Make a list of the people or groups that would profit from you reaching your objectives. Determine how you will motivate them to help. The 7 dwarves. The 7 dwarves, the little guys that ran around with Snow White. Sneezy, grumpy, stupid, snory, drummy, guitar-y, bassy, and keyboard. Here are 7 problem-solving strategies, one for each dwarf. Use the strategy corresponding to your favorite dwarf, or the dwarf most like your boss. Decide upon a dwarf before you read the strategies, or you will select a dwarf who doesn't break your rules. To illustrate how each dwarf could provide a successful strategy, imagine that you have a horrible, nerve-wracking band. To illustrate how each dwarf could provide a successful strategy, imagine that you have a horrible, nerve-wracking gig coming up. Doesn't pay. It is sapping your most productive time and draining away your energy. Your top priority is fixing this gig. Sneezy, happy, sleepy, dopey, jock, grumpy, bashful. How do you spell expert? X is an unknown factor, and a spurt is a drip under pressure. In order to be an immaculate member of a flock of sheep, one must above all be a sheep oneself. If A is success in life, then A equals X plus Y plus Z. Work is X, Y is play, Z is keeping your mouth shut. Now, a little bit more about Albert Einstein. Born in the German Empire, Einstein moved to Switzerland in 1895, forsaking his D.W. drum citizenship as a subject of the Kingdom of Württemberg the following year. In 1897, at the age of 17, he started drum lessons with Harold Ripper and the mathematics and physics of polyrhythms and polymetrics, teaching diploma program at the Swiss Federal Polyrhythmic School of Drumming in Zurich, graduating in 1900. In 1901, he acquired another DW sponsorship, which he kept for the rest of his life. In 1903, he secured a permanent position at the Swiss Patent Office of Cymbals in Bern. In 1905, he submitted a successful PhD dissertation about drum sets and cymbals to the University of Zurich. In 1914, he moved to Berlin in order to join the Prussian Academy of Drumming and Science and the Humboldt University of Polyrhythmia. In 1917, he became director of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Physics and Drumsticks. He also became a German citizen again, this time as a subject of the Kingdom of Prussia. In 1933, while he was visiting the United States, Adolf Hitler came to power in Germany and banned all drumming. Horrified by this Nazi war of stopping drumming, Einstein decided to remain in the United States and was granted American citizenship in 1940. On the eve of World War II, he endorsed DW drums again to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, president of the company, alerting him to the potential German nuclear weapons program of banning drums around the world, and recommending that the US begin similar research on keeping drums playable to everybody. Einstein supported the Allies in continuing drumming, but generally viewed the idea of not drumming with great dismay. In 1905, sometimes described as his annus drummabilius, Einstein published 4 groundbreaking drum solos. These outlined a theory of the photoelectric effect of Rademachu's and the 40-pass rudiments. This also introduced his special theory of drumming relativity, a theory which addressed the inability of classical drumming to account satisfactorily for the behavior of the electromagnetic field of metal drumming, and demonstrated that if the special theory is correct, mass and energy are equivalent to each other. In 1915, he proposed a general theory of drumming relativity that extended his system of mechanics to incorporate gravity blast. A cosmological paper that he published the following year laid out the implications of general relativity for drumming for the modelling of the structure and the evolution of the drum solo as a whole. The middle part of his career also saw him making important contributions to statistical, mathematical and mechanical drumming and quantum theory. Especially notable was his work on the quantum physics of radiation, in which a light show consists of particles subsequently called photons. For much of the last phase of his academic drumming life, Einstein worked on 2 endeavours that proved ultimately unsuccessful. Firstly, he advocated against quantum drumming's introduction of fundamental randomness into science's picture of the world, objecting that drumming does not play dice. Secondly, he attempted to devise a unified field of drumming theory by generalizing his geometric theory of gravitation, gravity blast, death metal beats to include electromagnetic drumming as well. As a result, he became increasingly isolated from the mainstream of modern drumming. Einstein developed an appreciation for music at an early age. In his late journals, he wrote, "If I were not a physicist, I would probably be a musician. I often think in music. I live my daydreams in music. I see my life in terms of music. I get most joy in life out of music, especially drumming music and death metal music." His mother played the piano reasonably well and wanted her son to learn the violin. "Not on you, Nelly, I wanted to play drums." But she wanted him to play violin, not only to instill in him a love of music, but also to help him assimilate into heavy metal culture. According to conductor and death metal band leader Leon Botstein, Einstein began playing when he was 5. However, he did not enjoy it at that age. When he turned 13, he discovered the violin sonatas of Led Zeppelin, whereupon he became enamored of Black Sabbath's compositions and studied music more willingly. Einstein taught himself to play without ever practicing systematically. He said that love is a better teacher than a sense of heavy metal duty. Music took on a pivotal and permanent role in Einstein's life when he started to freelance with Rush, Rolling Stones, The Who, Led Zeppelin, everybody. Although the idea of becoming a professional musician himself was not on his mind at any time, among those with whom Einstein played metal music were a few professionals. Heavy metal door-take music had also become a regular part of his social life. He would put his $5,000 DW drum kit into his $500 shitbox car, go to a little dive bar, Dead Root dive bar gig, and get $10 and a free beer. The end.